in 1999 or late 1998, I went to America and on the Angela Taylor scholarship. I went to Washington, I went to New York, and I saw that they had cold case homicide units. Primarily they were set up to look at their unsolved homicides. Admittedly, they might be looking at them, they're only 2 years old. But all of a sudden as you come back here and you look and say, well, hang on, we've got 243 unsolved homicides which date back to 1949. So not all of those that you would work on, but it was about then setting up a priority. Do we have jobs where there is a suspect? Yes, we do. Why hasn't that person been charged? An example might be, well, he had an alibi. So we identified cases where we had suspects and say someone had given them an alibi. Relationships break up, so you would go and see the person that gave them the alibi and they would say, well, listen, by the way, he wasn't with me that night, I can tell you that he did it. There's been advances in technology. Some of the exhibits hadn't been examined in relation to DNA, so they, again, got a higher rating. I think one of the first ones that we looked at was the death of Bonnie Clark. Her father, Bonnie Clark's dad, came to me and he wanted it reinvestigated. He was dying with cancer. Bonnie Clark was a 6-year-old girl that was raped and murdered in Northcote in 1982. As a result of that, I made a commitment that I would re-look at it. The Herald Sun wrote a big article and a lady rang up. And the lady said, I went to school with Bonnie Clark. And of a night time I went to Bonnie's house. And there was a man at that house who always made Bonnie sit on his knee. And from time to time, he would fondle Bonnie. I've never told anyone this story other than my mother. So it's 20 years on, I can't hold this secret and I want to tell you. So we went on and we eventually identified the man who was a boarder. And ironically, his name was Malcolm Clark, but he had no relationship to Bonnie Clark, he was just a boarder. In 1982, Malcolm Clark had been convicted of another murder of Teresa Crow in a loft at Paran and got sentenced on a manslaughter. I think it took us about 9 months, but in the end we charged him with Bonnie's death. And he was ultimately found guilty, and Dennis Clark, the dad, died about a month later.